Alright, so I want to open up a bit about mystical experience because I've had an experience that I can only classify as a mystical experience, and I think it needs to be talked about. Not that I've had it and oh, look at me, because I'm not the first to have it. It's probably not even the deepest version of such an experience. The one that I've had probably isn't the deepest one. I certainly wouldn't be the last one. There are people who know a lot more about it. But still, I think it needs to be talked about and it can be interesting for anyone researching this to have yet another experience to add to their research. Mine in this case. So, what do I mean by mystical experience? Well, first I'll just say what I actually experienced. So, I was in a very negative relationship. It was emotionally abusive, and I was not doing well. Now, at some point, I noticed all my suppressed thoughts and feelings, in part because of, well, I noticed all my suppressed thoughts and feelings and decided that if I wanted to fix our lives, because I was the problem of both our problems and of both our issues, I was the source of both our issues. At least that was the story in that relationship. So if I wanted to fix that, if I wanted to do something about it, I had to do something. And I noticed these suppressed thoughts and feelings, and I figured, well, if I gotta do something, then maybe I should start being honest about these things. So I started talking, and I was in this room and on this balcony with my then girlfriend and a friend of ours. And I started talking and crying because it was pretty emotional to me, and I wept like a baby when I was talking about this stuff. I kept talking for, I don't know, like maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so. And it was quite a monologue. But at some point, I shut up and I sat down and I waited for a second. It was more out of politeness, I guess, because I had already been talking a lot and I sort of washed over them with my emotions. And it felt polite to not keep doing that and to just shut up now, because I've had my say. And I've heard a voice in the distance away from the apartment that said, "Deal with your shit." And kept repeating, "Deal with your shit, deal with your shit, deal with your shit." It was urgent. It was very, very urgent. It was, well, I'll reflect on it later in the video, but for now it was just really, and I remember I talked about it later and I said it was an urgency that hit me like a cannonball. It was completely unavoidable, relentless. Relentless. Yeah. And just the sheer gravity of that urgency was enough to stir me to tears. So even without talking or without thinking about anything, just the weight of that urgency was enough to well, spark tears. And so I started talking again. And every time I would shut up, I would get that voice again. And every time I would be stirred to tears, and every time I thought, I can't let this go. I can't. I need to talk about this. So I kept talking, and the conversation lasted for about 4 or 5 hours of constant crying and talking about everything that was bottled up inside that wasn't being let go. And well, eventually, after about 4 or 5 hours, I was actually done talking. I actually didn't have anything left to say in that moment. So my girlfriend, she went inside I think she went to the bathroom or something. And this friend of ours that was here went to get a drink, and I was alone on the balcony for a second. And that voice didn't come. and I was completely calm, serene, like there was nothing left. Then suddenly there came this incredible love. You can't put that into words. If I had told you about this the day after it happened, I would have been crying with joy. But sadly, it's been about 8 months since I've had this experience. So it was love. It was a never ending well of love, always within reach if only, well, you reach out, or if you allow it, if you're open to it, it would always be there. And the second that love came up, I also saw a white golden light come down from above on the entire world. Now I want to reflect on what I mean by white golden light and by that voice, because it's not that obvious. It's not. It's Look, if I make a picture of what I'm seeing, you know what I'm seeing. And if I had taken a picture of what I saw in that moment, it would not contain that white golden light. If I could make a recording of what I'm hearing, back when I was hearing that voice, it wouldn't contain the voice. It's not an actual sensory experience, not in the way a hallucination would be. It's different. And I can only compare it to a dream, as in, well, in a dream your dream can produce a person, and you can know who that person is, and you can know what that person is feeling or thinking or doing or saying, and you can know all sorts of things about that person, even though your dream doesn't produce an actual image of the person. Now I know that there's plenty of dreams where the image does get produced, but can you imagine this specific aspect of a dream where you just know somebody's there and know what that's doing is actually playing a role in your dream, even though your dream isn't producing an image? Well, that's the only sort of comparison I have. It's this dreamlike quality of information simply being present and being real to you in that moment, even though it's not, well, tactile, but it wouldn't be tactile anyway. But I just don't know how to put it into words. The voice wasn't deep or high. It wasn't speaking slowly or fast. It wasn't. There was just this information present of there being a voice saying that thing. And the fact that it said deal with your shit is just my own. It's how I think. It has nothing to do with some external entity that uses this language to guide us, and it's nothing like that. It's more, it's neurological for as far as I can tell. And maybe that's too superficial to just call it neurological, but I do think at this point that it's neurological. I might be wrong in that. I mean, maybe there was something energetic going on there as well, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm talking about just something I experienced, and I don't know what that is. I just know I experienced it. That's it. So, so yeah. After I had that experience, I was very intuitive. So, for example, if I got hungry, I would just eat. I wouldn't think, oh, well, what do we still have? What's in the house? What do I feel like eating? There was no decision to be made. It was just, oh, I'm hungry. I just got up, got something to eat. If I was playing video games, I like playing video games. If I was gaming, I would just notice when I'm doing that to escape a responsibility or a feeling, and I would stop gaming and just confront that and deal with it and then move on to a different part of my day. It was very natural and obvious to me that that's what you're supposed to do, that was what I wanted to do, which is not what it's like right now. That I stayed in that state for, I think, a day or two at most, and I still felt a very clear aftershock of the experience for about 2 weeks, I think, which is when the abusive part of the relationship started to when I started to understand what had happened. And I think it was as much as 2 or 3 months before I actually felt like I was completely the old me again. Sadly, at first, because that's also something that happens. The experience was so beautiful that I wanted to keep it. And in wanting to keep it and having some philosophical background of Zen Buddhism, I just noticed I can't hold it. I can't forcibly pull it in or something. I can't keep it in by holding it. That's just not how that works. So I knew that already. And so I tried to not hold it. And the fact that I was trying to meant I was trying to hold it by not holding it. It was just an elaborate way to still hold it. And so that attempt became more and more elaborate the more time went on. And after about 2 days, I was back in the ego again. Still feeling the aftershock of the experience, nevertheless, but it was very, very strange to notice that I was like playing a video game in order to prove to myself that I wasn't actually facing the love that's there always, the one love that exists. Oh, I wasn't. It really reminded me of Alan Watts. Like the jig was up, you know? The jig is up. I saw through the game we're playing. But we can't have that. No, we can't have that. We're playing this game. I'm supposed to keep playing. So I started doing anything. Writing, reading, playing video games, the laundry or whatever. I was just doing stuff in order to pretend I wasn't who I actually am. Who we actually are. Not, there's nothing special about me in this. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. So I guess I just wanted to get that off my chest because I'm trying to talk about things while ignoring the fact that this happened and that this is something that sparked my interest in spirituality and in healing and in a different perspective on psychology and mysticism. And I feel like I can't ignore it. I can't just go talk about all that other stuff without ever talking about this. It's too important, which is why there are religions who talk about this stuff. It's too important. We need to talk about it. Because for as far as I can tell, I don't like the word spiritual for this. I guess I'll just say mental for now, even though that doesn't quite cover it. But it's something like mental health or mental, like being an adult in a way that not all, not everyone who's an adult physically is an adult emotionally or spiritually. Actually, most aren't in my estimation. And I think I was granted the opportunity to get a taste of what it would be like to be an adult in a spiritual way, to have learned the lessons we're here to learn in life. But I just tasted it. I'm not there anymore, not by a long shot. One Zen master once said, there is no such thing as an enlightened person, there's only enlightened action. So maybe because of random neurons and energy and whatever, I just happened to stumble upon enlightened action. And being flawed, I didn't manage to stay there. Yeah, I'm done talking about this for now. This is what I had. I hope it's useful to some of you, or at least interesting to some of you.